like on the landing ground.
Thank you for joining us. You are listening to A Radio, and this is the Morning Moment. Please click on the follow button on Spreaker.com. I want you to look at this map, particularly if you're an American, but it's very important for you to understand what's happening to your neighbour. There are 2 zeros on the left of the map. They are BC, British Columbia, and next to that is Alberta. The next one along is Saskatchewan, and then the next one to that is Manitoba. And then you get to Ontario, followed by Quebec, then slightly below that of New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and then a very small PEI, and finally Newfoundland and Labrador. Now, going back to the map, BC is a very small French contingent, but does have quite a few lefties there, so quite often votes for the majority Liberal. Next, Alberta. This is very conservative, even though it's currently suffering under the tyrannical leader in the name of the NDP. Next is Saskatchewan, that is suffering under Trudeau's illegal carbon dioxide tax. Then you have Manitoba, which has a lot of French, and it's also close to Ontario, which is left. And what I mean by that, it's left in more ways than one. Then you have Quebec, which is the heart of the Liberal Communist Party of Canada. Very far left, socialists who never tire of spending other people's money. Then you get New Brunswick, which is heavily weighted in favour of the French, to the extent they are forcing English-speaking Canadians to be second-class citizens in their own province. So then we're left with a few other provinces. But you need to put this in context. The context is the electoral map. This is why the money map is important. British Columbia has 42 seats, so it's kind of the only one that doesn't fit this narrative because they don't get the money despite the fact that they have the seats. So that province doesn't really fit, but the rest do fit very nicely. Alberta, which is heavily conservative, federally gets 0 money and has 34 seats. So nothing for the conservative strong Alberta. Saskatchewan, 10 seats, no money. Manitoba, 12 seats, gets about 2.1 billion, no prizes for guessing their cultural balance. Ontario, a lot of Liberals here and French, and as the largest populated province, it has a ridiculous number of seats, 121. So they have to get something, even though the Liberal Communist Party are in power in this province, decimating its economy. They have to give them something. There are so many seats there up for grabs. So they get just over $900 million. So now we come to the prize of Canada, as the Liberal Communists like to think, but others despise, that being Quebec, with its out-and-out anti-English policies and politics, which are blatantly anti-charter in nature. Somehow, with this province with a much smaller population than that of Ontario, still comes out with 78 seats, thanks to various fiddles that they have managed to procure from hard-working Canadians. And, to top it all, they are being given $11.7 billion, that's with a B, for a province that openly hates Canada and all it stands for, and makes every effort not to conform, is being given $11.7 billion. And if the truth be known, it's probably closer to 20. Or even higher. No Canadians have any idea where the money is going, other than the fact that they are always pleading poverty. Large numbers of their citizens actually work across the border in Ontario and work for the federal government, or work close to the border in Hull, Quebec. Regardless of where the money is going, the rest of the provinces only add up to 25 seats. So at the risk of upsetting them, they matter very little, except when it's a hung parliament, which is rare in Canada. The reason being is that the Liberals only need to win the majority of seats in Quebec and Toronto, where the majority of the seats are, and a few in BC, and they won. So the rest of the country really doesn't matter. Putting it in even simpler terms, by the time the polls have closed in Ontario, the election is usually over before BC has even finished voting. This is why Canadians feel hard done by, as they should do. The French stronghold of Quebec and downtown Toronto is all it takes. Now we have statistics again. The population of Canada around 2016 was 36 million, give or take. The voter turnout at the last election was 68.5%. which equates to 24.66 million. The Liberal Party of Canada won with 39.5% of that 24.66 million who voted, which actually works out to be 9.74 million. That represents 27% of the population. So the Liberal Communist Party of Canada claim that they have a majority of Canadians that voted for them. And thereby lies the rub. To be elected to run a country by 27% of the population is, to put it mildly, not democratic. Now you can see all this on my website at aradio.wordpress.com/voters of Canada. Haven't you had enough? You can find more at aradio.wordpress.com, where you can find links to us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Gab and email. We are continuing to reach out to you, so please pass on the links. Please click on the follow button on Spreaker.com. You can listen to all my morning moments at Spreaker.com under A Radio, that's EHRADIO, A Radio. And please click on the like button. And you can find all my podcasts and morning moments at aradio.wordpress.com and click on the Morning Moments tab.